Welcome. Thanks for coming. My name is Martin Grebáč, and I'm a software engineering manager for Metro Web Services, which includes the other technologies like JAXB and JAX-WS. And this talk is going to be about Metro and sort of like a project update on what's happening in Metro space and in the SOAP-based world. I'll briefly, very briefly, just describe what Metro is so that we are all on the same page and talk about where we are coming from and what the current developments are, what the features that came in recent Metro releases were, and talk about a little bit what our potential future plans are, where we would like to go with Metro. And not only that, I would like to also hear some feedback if you have any ideas or have any requests or thoughts on what you would expect from Metro. Then I think this is a good chance to express them. So before I go any further, this is the most famous slide at Java 1. It basically says that whatever I mention and it encompasses something in future, then don't believe me that much, and it may change. So it cannot be incorporated into any contract, especially any dates or anything. So after that, so what's Metro? Metro is an open source SOAP Java web services stack. It includes several, or is built from several components, such as JAXB, which takes care of the data binding part. JAXB is a Java API for XML binding, and JAX-WS takes care of the SOAP part of the runtime, so the web services part. And on top of that, there are additional advanced technologies built which are included in Metro, and they were originally called as Project Tango, then renamed to WSIT, but the whole overall name for all these is Metro, so it was that. And those include reliability, transactions, security, metadata exchange, all sorts of WS star specifications, which Metro is full of. Inherently, from the past or from the original, I mean, how Metro project was set up is that it was set up with interoperability in mind, and that includes mostly .NET, but also additional web services stacks. When Sun came into Oracle, that includes also Oracle products. So Metro is interoperable with not only like within the web service specifications such as WSI or our basic profile or additional security-based profiles or so. It also is tested against the Oracle products and .NET. And as such, as the open source project is developed under GlassFish, also it basically shares the same license, CDDL or GPL. You can decide which one to use, and basically the whole websites are at java.net, so you find everything from Metro on java.net website, on java.net sites. Briefly from the architectural point of view, Metro or JAX-WS itself, it's fairly flexible and pluggable. So basically you can plug individual components and replace them and reuse them as required. So you can exchange, for example, the transport, such as HTTP, TCP. You can change encodings, XML or fast info set. Then there's a set of JAX-WS technologies which are pluggable and allow plugging additional features there. And on top of that, again, is through pluggable layers are implemented the WS star technologies such as reliability, security, and all sorts of that. For ease of use, we also provide tooling in the form of a NetBeans plugin, but this is not required, so you can, of course, develop or implement Metro services without that, but for some especially security configurations, we found it's much easier to do through clicking some buttons than editing the policy files. So where did Metro come? I will not mention any previous releases, just very briefly. So with Java E5 and GlassFish 3, we delivered Metro 2.0, which included the implementation of the latest JAXB and JAX-WS specifications. And with the later Metro 2.1 and 2.1 release, we added several other important features such as high availability, which takes care of, which includes reliable messaging and security, and thus is able to make sure that all the reliable messaging sequences and secure conversation sessions are highly available and so the other instances are able to pick up the data if any instance fails. We added support for security policy 1.3, which is additional revision of the security policy specification. With Oracle coming into picture, we extended the transaction support by basically reusing the one from WebLogic, which was a very good addition to Metro. And of course, we added more interoperability by testing against Oracle products, especially in the security space. With Metro 2.1.1, there were also several security improvements, such as adding support for proprietary higher strength keys, such as encryption algorithms such as SHA 512 and so on. These are not yet specified in the specifications, but so they are basically proprietary, but they are basically required for any meaningful security implementations, as SHA1 is more or less deprecated. From the additional ones is the security features is policy alternatives. So basically on client you can decide which alternative to use. The Metro 2.1 has been aligned with GlassFish 3.1. So going back like a year, this was my slide from previous Java 1. This was the previous future. So where we wanted to go after Metro 2.1 and 2.1.1. So the areas we'd like to address or wanted to address was even better alignment with WebLogic. Then there were a couple of things that just have to be done. At some point, you just have to do them. There's like a couple of these things that are rolling before you, and you just never have time to do them, so we try to address those as well. And we wanted to implement the modular data binding feature, basically add another data binding layer or additional pluggability layer to JAX-WS, so that it's even more flexible and extensible. And so recently, this year, we published or released Metro 2.2 and 2.2.1, which included most of these planned features, and I'm going to talk about them in a while. So modular data binding, more alignment with WebLogic. We extended JDK support to match basically the one from GlassFish. So but there's some drawback, which I mentioned later on. We had to drop support for JDK 5, which actually was EOL'd. And we added support for JAX-WS 2.2, a minor revision of the spec, improved or added several improvements to the security area. And from the you need to do those stuff, there's the APT rewrite and also some stuff on documentation. And these releases have been aligned with GlassFish 3.1.2. So Metro 2.2 is included in GlassFish 3.1.2. If you want to use Metro 2.2.1, you need to download this standalone release and install it on top of GlassFish. So going into the individual things or individual features one by one. So by the better alignment with WebLogic, we mean that Metro and the individual components are basically delivered to multiple products or multiple frameworks or whatever, JDK, GlassFish, WebLogic. We release them as standalone. We release them as a Metro or as a standalone subprojects. So it's kind of important for us to have make sure that there's no forked code bases, but it's more or less one code line. And at some points we release this. We push out a release which goes into these products. So with that, we can. Right now, or we are right now sharing the JAXB and JAX-WS implementations. So it's basically one code line, and also we are sharing as I already mentioned, the transactions implementation. There's a little star there because it's not fully done. It's basically the same source, but it still lives at two places. So we want to get rid of that in the future. And the other thing from the alignment was to kind of improve the running on WebLogic documentation. So when you take the Metro standalone release and try to make use of it on WebLogic, so we try to address that by improving the documentation. This is still an ongoing process as well. I will mention it later on, but. Also, if you have any other, or if you have any ideas on how to improve this, then also let us know, or if you have any experience with this. So from the things that just needed to be done, you probably know if you ran WS import tasks or WS gen or on JDK 7, that it prints out this nasty warning that APT has been deprecated and should not be used. However, the JAXB and JAX-WS tools, they used APT still. So we are delivering to JDK, and in JDK 8, the APT has been removed. So we had to make sure that this code is being rewritten. So if you use APT, you should stop using it and start using basically simple JAVAC, which is includes the standard Java processing API, and that's also the reason why we dropped the JDK 5 support, because annotation processing API or the JSR 269 API is not present in JDK 5. So other than that, we try to keep things as compatible as possible. Try to keep the existing untasks or try to implement existing untasks in such a way so that they mimic the APT. So I think most of the applications, if they use the untasks and not directly call the APT from JDK, then they should not be affected too much. And there's of course documentation on this, how to migrate to the new one. So the other thing that just needed to get done is sort of not a much coding thing, but we are here like on forums, and that the documentation still has a space for improvement. So the first step for that for us was to migrate the documentation to some more meaningful format. So for the choice was the dogbook. So right now we are in dogbook. We can share the documentation. We can edit it easily, and finally we also had a single HTML and PDF versions of the documentation. Of course, this is ongoing process, so we try to clean it up, but expect more improvements in the future. And of course, if you step into the documentation and find something that you think could be improved, then let us know. It's just as easy as sending an email to a forum or filing an issue in Jira, or of course just improve it yourself and send us a patch to the documentation. So going to the little bigger features included in Metro 2.2, that was the pluggable or modular data binding, through which we wanted to add an additional layer of pluggability into JAX-WS and Metro. So this feature basically enables you to remove or stop using JAXB reference implementation and instead use some other data binding layers such as Eclipse Link Moxie, which is another implementation of JAXB specification. So with you have multiple ways or multiple choices how to implement or how to switch this Moxie support on. It's basically present right now in JAX-WS and in the Metro builds. So if you want to make sure that all your web services or all your app server is running with Moxie, then it's just like a big switch on the JDK. So in case of GlassFish, this is how it would look like. And suddenly your JAX-WS runtime will use Moxie underneath. The more granular way to configure is through JAX-WS proprietary descriptor. So there you have an option to specify the data binding at the endpoint level. So either you specify the glassfish.jaxb, which is the JAXB reference implementation to be used, which is the default so far at least, and then there's Eclipse link.jaxb. So when you use that, suddenly the Moxie will be looked up and used. And going further, there are multiple choices I told you to configure this. So the dynamic one is to create a feature, to use the JAX-WS feature way. So basically you create a feature, set it on the endpoint, and that's it. And the last one is a simple data binding mode annotation, which specifies the which is makes the code as simple as possible. It just mentions sets the data binding layer. So just to show you a little bit that it really works and does something. So I have just a very simple web service here. Let me see if it's visible. So it's some kind of web service. I'm not going to run it. I just want to show you how the mapping can be used. So it returns a bean, which is a customer, which is data bound. JAXB bean, which is specified here. And you can even now see that I do have some Eclipse link import and using some annotations which are not recognized by default by the JAXB reference implementation. So the mapping will not be taken into account. So when I go into the this is really complicated resolution. I almost don't see anything. Okay, this should be better. So when I go to the WSDL, there's this schema location. I'm at the schema, and here I see that the type for the mapping for customer includes element first name and last name. And so what the mapping in this customer class would like to do is to add another like top level element to include these two into personal info elements. So right now I do have just a simple endpoint definition without the data binding section. So when I deploy this application and reload, so this is the value which I have been showing up. But when I add the data binding section and specify the Eclipse Link Moxie binding, that is already there, and redeploy the application. So suddenly the mapping has changed, and it includes the top level personal info element, which is the Moxie feature which uses the XML path. Let me see, where is it? XML path annotations. So just a simple showcase of this. There's a sample in Metro, so you can try it yourself. Just download Metro standalone and invoke Unt, and it will basically build a data binding or Eclipse Link bound module for you. So with the pluggable layer, we didn't only so it doesn't only allow you to plug different JAXB implementations, but it's kind of more extensible. And one example is service data objects. So right now, this is kind of more like an experimental or alpha stage, but you can get the plugins if you download JAX-WS or Metro standalone. The service data objects is another sort of data binding implementation or specification which is supported by Eclipse Link. And as you see on the slide, this requires a little bit more than just the annotation. It requires so that there's more information pushed to the data binding through the data binding config instance, such as you specify the schemas which are used for the data binding or any other features which you want to set for the data binding layer. So I'm not going to deep dive into this one. If you want, you can download the JAX-WS and Metro builds and find the plugins there, and if you find it useful, let us know. So that was the data mining layer. And I mentioned we somehow enhanced the JDK support. So right now the JDKs supported are JDK 6, 7, JRocket, and also AIX with some limitations, and we had to drop the JDK 5. So if you, for some reason, I mean, JDK 5 has been AOL'd, but in case you still need to use it, then use older version of Metro or older version of JAX-WS or JAXB specifications if you require. So that goes. That was for the Metro 2.2 and 2.2.1, which basically you can download anytime. And if you already downloaded GlassFish, then you already have it. And so sort of talk about like what's the current work that being in progress. So Metro as such has been Mavenized. So we have a first-class support for Metro. Maven is the main repository for binary artifacts, all the builds, and basically everything that Metro build produces is in Maven, so we can find it there. It's not right now only for Metro, but also for the sub-projects such as JAX-WS, and we are trying to also finish this with JAXB. We reincarnated JAX-WS Maven plugin, so right now it supports the latest version of JAX-WS and Metro, and also added several fixes and improvements into it so that it supports the latest switches through the configuration, and it supports multiple advanced configurations, like improvements on specifying where the WSDL files are, like multi-structure folders and so on. And we want to get further in this with JAXB RI, even though with JAXB RI it's not, or I would not consider it that important, because JAXB has a external contributor, like C, who basically makes sure or maintains Maven plugin on his own. So that one is usually updated very often with every JAXB release. So to go further from the JAXB point of view, to somehow minimize or improve the memory footprint when tooling is being done, and also being able to plug different implementations and again make the implementation more flexible, we extracted JAXB 1 support. So in case you still need to use it, you have a possibility to use it, but of course that's not recommended. Please use JAXB 2 or anything, or JAXB 2.2. And the additional step was to split the JAXB into several more components, so that implementation and schema compiler are two different things which do not depend necessarily on each other. So when you schema compiler, you don't necessarily need to use the same runtime, and also the other way around. Also, this has been separated, so the JXC has been separated out from JAXB implementation. So this should also improve the memory footprint in some cases. And yeah, one of the reasons for this is Jigsaw, and thinking about how to improve modularity of these components in JDK. For Metro artifacts, this does not mean much change. Right now, we basically deliver what we deliver. Maybe what we would like to do is to make more alignment and basically make sure that whatever we deliver through Metro standalone is also used in GlassFish. Right now, that's not necessarily true. We rebundle stuff to the OSGI big bundle, and that goes to GlassFish. So that's something we would like to change as well. So the additional feature for that came lately, or is available in latest JAX-WS and Metro builds, is something that has been requested also several times on the forums, and it's basically external web services metadata. So what that means is that you can basically deploy or specify endpoints without specifying annotations. So basically you can publish endpoint which implementation is some third-party or legacy code to which you don't even have access to, and this way you can, as you see on the slides, you can basically specify which class is going to be the implementation, and then specify all the other things, such as which Java methods can be or should be exposed as the web service methods, and so, additional attributes, such as, for example, again, another way how to configure data binding to switch it from through this external web services metadata. Several other areas where this can be useful, so that you have one class and basically you can publish it in several different configurations and bindings. So under, let's say, several URLs with different data bindings, with you can publish under different web services different methods of this class. So that's kind of where this feature comes from. It's kind of fresh. It's in the recent build. So if you download it and use it, then let us know. I mean, write to the users forum or to the mailing lists, and we would like to hear if you see anything, how this could be potentially improved, or if you find it useful. So let me just a little time check. Okay. And the other things that are just like the somehow you just expect them. So we trying to constantly improve the code line by using some tools for static analysis and doing some refactorings to improve the code, and also continuously deliver some performance and stability improvements into the code base to make sure that the latest releases are working. I mean, this is open source, but that doesn't mean it's like this is still production quality code. And I already mentioned the documentation. It's not like code or feature, but we see it as like it comes often on the forum, so we're trying to improve on that. Like not only by adding documentation, but also by removing some obsolete stuff. But as well, I mentioned if you find any specific areas which you would be, let's say, interested in, or which you think would be good to emphasize in the documentation, and let us know. I would like to really improve on this one. So that gives me that leads me to little future talk. I mentioned that we'd like to do more on the alignment. We're doing more on alignment, but would like to do even more. So again, we are improving the documentation on how to run Metro on WebLogic. So that's one task. We'd like to finish the transactions alignment, which should be done within GlassFish 4 timeframe. So it's kind of not that much visible to developers, but in case you share the same code between WebLogic, or you migrate from GlassFish to WebLogic, then you can experience it. That it's kind of feels good to have the same code base, or you can expect the same things in GlassFish or in WebLogic. And we are looking into some areas how to add some features either to WebLogic or to Metro and make things easier in this space. So again, if you have any ideas how to make things even easier, we are happy to hear and think about them. Additional thing from the future plans, I don't want to spoil too much. So there's JAX-WS.next, which we would like to get involved into, and I know that this has been discussed for some time, but like the main topics for that would be the bin validation, which comes on the forums, the async stuff. Then there are some clarifications which make the developing portable web services kind of complicated. So that would have to be fixed, and thinking about adding additional, like for example, MTOM and addressing features specifications are right now added to the JAX-WS Spec. So we think that also others would belong to that space. I don't want to spoil that much because, like in an hour and a half or so, we're having a JAX-WS.next BOF altogether with Chen, where we want to go a little more deeper into the individual areas, and also would like to hear the feedback on if you have any what you see as an issues or what you would like to see in JAX-WS.next. And what are your thoughts on this? Whether this should really go or it should remain stable, as compatible as possible, and so on. So not only JAX-WS, but also we are looking into WS star additional, like reviewing additional specs. So from those, just picking the two, the WS eventing and WS business activity. I'm not necessarily saying that this is something that you can expect anytime soon implemented in Metro, but in case you have any interest, or if you have any use cases for this, for these, or maybe some other WS star technologies, then also please speak up, and we would like to hear about those. So the use cases are the most important thing to, because right now we don't see that much to, like, SOAP is complicated enough already, so and adding a little more complexity in that, it just have to be justified. So that's why we are just waiting a little bit in this area. So, and that leads me to the end of my presentation. I guess we have still enough time for questions or any feedback. If you have any comments, like for the Metro future or JAX-WS future, please let us know. Yeah. Okay.
Two questions. The first question: I'm assuming that JAX-WS uses XML as a transport layer. Are there other transport layers in the future for JAX?
So Metro as such is able to use fast info set and like different encodings, and you should be able to also, I mean, we don't plan to implement any other, but it should be possible in case you really require some specific. Okay.
The reason I ask is because when you deal with dozens of records and transfer, that's not a big deal when you're talking XML. When you're talking thousands, the game changes.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why the fast info set has been in the case, so that improves the document, the transfer very much.
So okay. You guys have no plans for REST or
if we have plans for REST?
REST or JSON or?
So far, well, REST is implemented as part of Project Jersey and JAX-RS, so that's kind of, we don't want to go into that space. It's like a separate project there. So, and there was one more. Sorry, I'm kind of having a hard time to hear.
The interoperability with CXF, Apache CXF.
Oh, CXF interoperability. We don't actually test it. We don't have it in our test suite. Maybe they do. They test. They don't. Okay. Yeah, so maybe that can be another topic to at our thing. So we can look into it. Okay.
Can you shed some light on one of the bullets, which was about this async? So what can we expect there? Because I thought that on the client side you can already kind of build artifacts to invoke your web service asynchronously. So what will be the new thing then?
Okay. So this is about server side async.
Okay.
So and I will not comment any further because I have the session very okay. So if you are interested to hear more, we will be there. Okay, go ahead.
I guess going back to the JAX-WS plugin, we haven't updated for a long time, and we originally had some problems with the location.
Mm-hmm.
So is that included in some of the things that are?
Yeah, I mean, we basically to look into Jira and into any other, basically fixed all the issues that have been filed and improved the plugin to the latest versions of the JAX-WS. So if you haven't tried it for a while, then I would really recommend it. It should work. And if it doesn't, then file an issue, and I think we should be able to fix it right away. Yeah, so basically it's us who improved the Maven plugin, right? Yes. Any other questions, or comments, ideas? Okay. No CXF.
Quite stupid on this one, but why do you change so much the Maven group name and artifact name?
Why do we change so much the Maven group name and artifact name? Well, hard to say. Well, there's one thing, like for example, we came from Sun to Oracle, and suddenly we should not use ComSun XML. There's also several things that under Java-E space there's a new sort of recommendations where the Java-E artifacts should live, and we should also reflect that. So I'm actually trying to keep the things, at least for now, for a while, to keep them at one place, which is basically for Metro it's or GlassFish Metro, and for JAX-WS it's ComSun XML-WS, and not adopt these new guidelines. But if we adopt them, then there will be another change of the group artifacts. Hard to say. So world is changing, and I guess we're trying to keep them at one place, but sometimes we just are pushed to push somewhere else. So maybe one solution would be for us, at least for some time, to push the artifacts to both places. But again, that's like kind of not that easy to do with Maven. It's kind of complicated, so that's why it's hard to keep compatible in this space. Okay, any other questions? No? So yeah, thank you very much then.